Welcome to today's Explainer. Today we're looking at a massive evolution in how we actually work with data. We are finally moving away from the era of one-size-fits-all artificial intelligence, and we're entering a completely new frontier. We're going to unpack exactly how to transform generic AI into a custom-built, highly tailored virtual advisory board. Honestly, if you've ever felt like the tools you're using are, incredibly smart, but somehow just lack that specific business context you actually need, well, you're in the right place, because this is a really fascinating discovery process. So let me ask you this. Whose opinion is your AI actually giving you? It's a universal frustration in the modern workplace, isn't it? We feed all this complex data into a system, we ask for insights, and what do we get back? Perfectly average, safely generic answers. Sure, it's grammatically flawless, it's incredibly polite, but it's utterly lacking in a distinct point of view. It literally leaves you wondering, am I getting the perspective of a hyper-cautious accountant, a visionary tech founder, or just, an average of the entire internet? And when that viewpoint is unclear, acting on that advice confidently is almost impossible. And this brilliantly illustrates the problem. Imagine looking at a recent dip in regional sales data. Now, a CEO needs to understand the long-term strategic trends, right? They're asking, are we losing market share to a new competitor? But a frontline sales manager looking at that exact same data needs short-term tactical fixes. They want to know which specific product line is dragging us down this week and how are we going to fix it by Friday? It's the exact same data, but completely different needs. Generic AI tries to answer both and, let's be honest, usually satisfies neither. All right, so here is our roadmap for today's Explainer. We're going to quickly walk through the multi-perspective system, the role selection feature, the personality tuning feature, the interactive analysis, and finally, how you can actually deploy this team. So let's jump right into part one, the multi-perspective system and how we're moving beyond generic AI. Okay, let's dive into this. The Nomura Research Institute, or NRI for short, recently developed a breakthrough AI system that explains data from diverse viewpoints based on user-set roles and personalities. Think of it less like a standard search engine and way more like a dedicated, multifaceted advisory board. Instead of getting one synthesized, watered-down answer, you're getting targeted, sophisticated insights from specific, defined standpoints. It's really designed to elevate how you utilize data and drastically speed up your decision-making by giving you exactly the kind of advice you're actually looking for. Moving right along to our second section, let's look at the role selection feature, which is basically where you start hiring your virtual experts. Think of this step like the interview and hiring process for your new data analysis team. You start by selecting distinct personas. Say you need a really rigorous, numbers-driven breakdown. Boom, you bring in the business analyst. Want that high-level strategic view? You choose management. You can even choose a very specific stakeholder perspective. For example, if we're analyzing e-commerce sales, you could set the persona as an actual e-commerce seller on the platform, someone who is directly impacted by the data and trying to figure out whether to keep pushing or stop selling a product. Just by picking a role from a simple menu, the AI's entire analytical viewpoint shifts instantly to match that exact set of priorities. Now, you might be wondering, how does it actually pull this off behind the scenes? Well, it's a really clever two-step process. Step 1 utilizes highly specialized prompt technology that is engineered to strictly mimic that specific persona's thought process and reasoning style. And Step 2, this is absolutely crucial. The system doesn't just rely on general internet knowledge. No, it taps into a secure database of your actual internal company documents, board minutes, and private data. So it's essentially grounding its persona-driven advice in the very real, confidential reality of your specific business. Next up is Section 3, the personality tuning feature, which is all about managing those team dynamics. Now, what's really interesting about this is that we've hired the roles, sure, but as any good leader knows, the personality of the people on your team drastically affects the output. With this system, you aren't just stuck with the default persona. You can literally drag a slider to adjust the ratio of positivity to negativity in the AI's personality traits. You are fine-tuning the emotional intelligence and analytical style of your chosen roles. And I gotta say, this isn't just some fun little gimmick. It completely alters the entire framing of the insights you get. To put that into perspective, imagine your company is in a massive expansion phase. You might want to dial up that positivity to create an optimistic manager who scans the data specifically looking for hidden growth opportunities and blue ocean strategies. Conversely, say you operate in a highly regulated industry where mistakes are incredibly costly. You can slide that ratio right over toward negativity. That creates a cautious analyst whose sole focus is stress testing your numbers and highlighting potential risks. You are perfectly matching the AI's temperament to your specific organizational culture and your current business needs. All right, bringing us to Section 4, Interactive Analysis, where we actually start conversing with your new advisors. Because having a tuned team of experts is great, but honestly, it's pretty useless if you can't actually talk to them efficiently, right? And the beauty here is you aren't writing complex lines of code to get deeper insights. You just use natural language. You can simply ask, hey, tell me why this number fluctuated and show it in a graph. You converse with this system exactly as you would with a human analyst sitting right across the desk from you. It allows you to poke at the data, challenge the AI's assumptions, and just ask follow-up questions without skipping a beat. And then, boom, the AI instantly generates the requested visuals right inside the chat interface. You don't have to export data to Excel, you don't have to build a pivot table, create a chart, and then try to remember what your original question even was in the first place. The AI handles the whole visualization process on the fly. This lets you dig way deeper into the data without ever breaking your analytical thought process. It's a real game changer for accelerating the entire cycle of analysis. Which leads us to our final section, the future of decision-making and how you go about actually deploying your team. So the crucial point is that all of this incredible technology needs a practical way to actually live inside your company's daily operations. NRI designed it so it can be deployed as its own standalone analysis dashboard, a nice, clean, independent workspace for your team. But what's highly practical is that it also functions perfectly well as an add-on module to your existing information systems. It just plugs right into your current software infrastructure. You don't have to completely rip and replace your entire IT setup just to get the benefits of a customized AI advisory board. Which leaves us with this final thought for today. If you could design your ultimate AI advisory board right now, today, who is the absolute first persona you would create? Would it be a relentless devil's advocate, a hyper-optimistic visionary, or maybe a deeply pragmatic frontline worker? The tools to build this customized, highly specific team are literally a reality right now. So think about your biggest daily business challenge and just imagine having the perfect expert tuned exactly to your culture, ready to analyze your data at a moment's notice. It's an absolutely fascinating paradigm shift in how we work. Thanks so much for joining me on this deep dive into the Explainer today, and I'll catch you next time.